Welcome to NFL Nexus. Today, we're diving deep into a story about a gamble so huge it was supposed to all but guarantee a Super Bowl, but instead, it almost broke the entire franchise. We are, of course, talking about the Indianapolis Colts and their massive, all-in trade for Sauce Gardner. It's a classic cautionary tale, really, of how a championship dream can turn into a rebuilding nightmare in the blink of an eye. This is one of those front office moves that people will be studying for years. It was a perfect storm of ambition, some really bad luck, and consequences that will last a long time. As we break this down, I definitely want to hear your take in the comments. Was the risk even worth it? And hey, if you like this kind of deep dive, do me a favor and hit that subscribe button. All right, let's get into it.
And this quote right here from Sports Illustrated, it just perfectly captures the feeling in the air at the time. You know, this wasn't just some regular mid-season trade. This was a declaration. This was the Colts front office, the coaches, the players, all looking at the rest of the league and basically saying, hey, we're not just a feel-good story this year, we are here to win it all, right now. The Colts, after an absolutely shocking 8-2 start to the 2025 season, weren't just hoping for the playoffs anymore. No way. The entire conversation in Indy shifted. The goal was the Lombardi Trophy, and getting Sauce Gardner, that was supposed to be the final piece of the whole puzzle. I mean, the hype was off the charts, and the entire league was officially on notice.
So how does a team get to that point? You know, where they're willing to just mortgage their entire future for one single player? What has to happen for a general manager to just push all their chips into the middle of the table like that? Well, let's set the stage for this Super Bowl gamble. It all started with a team that was playing way better than anyone, maybe even they themselves, ever expected.
To really understand why they pulled the trigger, you have to kind of transport yourself back to that moment. Okay, the Colts are 8-2, 10 games in, only 2 losses. Can you imagine the energy in that locker room? Their offense was absolutely on fire, and our sources describe them as decimating opponents. So they weren't just squeaking out wins here and there, they were dominant. They were imposing their will, and the most important part is it felt real. It felt like it could last. And that's what led their GM, Chris Ballard, to look at his roster, look at the standings, and think, you know what? We're just one elite guy away from a real championship. And that thinking led them to make what we call an all-in move. It's one of the most exciting and, let's be honest, one of the most terrifying strategies in all of sports. You are consciously saying, we are sacrificing our future, our ability to build through the draft for years, for one shot at glory right now. The best case scenario? A championship parade. The confetti, the trophy, the whole thing. The worst case? You set your franchise back 5, maybe even 10 years, and you're forced into this painful rebuild with no high draft picks to help you get out of it. Chris Ballard saw his window, and man, he decided to go for it all.
So what does it actually cost to get a guy like Sauce Gardner in the middle of a season? What's the price tag on that championship window? Well, as you can see, it's absolutely astronomical. Let's just let this sink in for a second. Not 1, but 2 future first-round picks. Those are your absolute best shots to find cornerstone players for the next 2 years. Your potential franchise quarterback, your left tackle, your elite pass rusher, all that potential is just gone. And then on top of that, they threw in a really promising young receiver, Adonai Mitchell, who was just starting to look like a real weapon. So the Colts basically traded away 3 potential key starters for 1 guaranteed superstar. The message could not have been any clearer. The future is now.
And this slide right here, this is where it gets painful. This shows the massive gap between the grand plan and the harsh reality. I mean, the plan itself was beautiful, right? It was a defensive coordinator's dream. You pair Sauce Gardner, a former Defensive Rookie of the Year, a true shutdown guy, with another fantastic corner in Charvarius Ward. On paper, that's arguably the best cornerback duo in the entire league, a true no-fly zone to go with that high-powered offense. But the reality was a complete and utter catastrophe. Both of those cornerstones, the very 2 players the entire strategy was built around, went down with major injuries. The defense just crumbled, and the whole season completely imploded. So how did it all fall apart so fast? I mean, it's one thing for a plan to go wrong. It's something else entirely for it to backfire this spectacularly. The moment the ink was dry on that trade, it was almost like fate had this cruel twist just waiting for them. The dream season was about to become an absolute nightmare, and it pretty much happened overnight. The numbers here are just brutal. The Colts paid a king's ransom for Sauce Gardner, and he played in only 4 games because of a nagging calf strain. Just 4. That's what they got for 2 first-round picks and a starting receiver. But the real gut punch, the thing that truly doomed the whole season, was the other guy, Charvarius Ward. He missed 10 games after suffering a staggering 3 concussions in 1 season, which is just, it's terrifying to even think about. So that deadly duo that was supposed to lock down the defense, they barely even saw the field together. the team's massive investment, was watching from the sidelines in street clothes.
So what happens when your two superstar corners go down? Well, this is what happens. Your championship-contending secondary is suddenly being led by Makee Blackman, a guy they got for a 6th-round pick, and a pair of undrafted rookies in Jonathan and Jalen Jones. Now look, no disrespect to those guys. I'm sure they played their hearts out, but just think about that for a second. You go from having maybe the best duo in the NFL to relying on players who were just fighting to make a roster a few months earlier. That's an impossible situation for any defense, let alone one trying to win a Super Bowl.
And the end result of that defensive collapse? This number: 7. After that incredible 8-2 start, the Indianapolis Colts lost 7 straight games to finish the season. They didn't just limp into the playoffs, they didn't get bounced in the first round, no, they went into a complete freefall and missed the postseason entirely. An 8-2 start turned into a losing 8-9 finish. It's honestly one of the most shocking and complete collapses we've seen in a long time.
And this analysis from Gilberto Manzano really just boils it all down, doesn't it? It's simple, it's direct, and it's brutal. The two events are completely connected. Gardner gets hurt, the defense can't hold up, the team goes into a tailspin, and the season is lost. There's no complex formula here. It's just a straight line from cause to effect. Manzano even called the trade unfruitful, which, let's be real, given the franchise-altering collapse that came after, that feels like a massive, massive understatement.
But here's the part that's just the most painful piece of this whole story. This is the part that probably keeps Colts fans up at night. The trade wasn't a bust because Sauce Gardner was bad or because he didn't fit their scheme. Not at all. In the 4 games he did play, he was everything they paid for. He was an absolute stud. His Pro Football Focus grades were fantastic. A 75.6 in coverage is great, but look at that run defense grade, a blistering 84.5, which was 4th best among all cornerbacks in the entire league that year. So this wasn't a personnel mistake. This was a gamble against injury luck, and the Colts lost in the worst way you possibly can.
Okay, so the disastrous 2025 season is over. The dust has settled, the lockers are all cleaned out. But the real consequences of that trade? They're just getting started. The bill has come due, and now the Colts are facing this daunting, almost impossible task of trying to rebuild their roster without the most valuable currency in the sport: first-round draft picks.
This right here, this is the question that has to be keeping the Colts front office awake at night. What's the plan now? You've got obvious holes on your roster, you've got an aging core in some really important spots, and you have zero access to the premium blue-chip talent you find at the top of the draft. How do you possibly fix this? How do you keep up in an AFC that is absolutely loaded with young stars when your best draft picks now belong to another team?
The answer is you have to become the smartest team in the room. You can't just pick the best player available in round 1 anymore. You have to live in the later rounds of the draft. You're not shopping for luxury cars anymore. You are hunting in the bargain bin, just hoping you can find a hidden gem. General Manager Chris Ballard and his scouting department, they have to find those diamonds in the rough on day 2 and day 3 of the draft. Guys who can contribute right away, without that fancy first-round pedigree. The margin for error now is just razor thin. One bad draft could set this team back even further.
Okay, so with no first-round picks, what's the actual blueprint for a successful draft? If you're running the Colts with limited ammo and a bunch of needs, where do you even start? Well, the sources we looked at point to 3 absolutely critical areas of need that have to be addressed with what little they have. This is their roadmap to recovery. First up, wide receiver. And man, that whole room is just in a state of chaos. Alec Pierce, a key deep threat for them, is about to be a free agent. Michael Pittman Jr., he's a veteran leader and a super reliable target, but he's a potential cap casualty. Why? Because cutting him would save them a massive $24 million in cap space, money they might really need to fix other problems. And then you've got your other key guys, Josh Downs and Ashton Dulin, who are both going into the last year of their contracts. There is pretty much zero long-term security at receiver, which makes it an absolute top priority.
Next, you got to look at the heart of their defense, the interior defensive line. The anchors, DeForest Buckner and Grover Stewart, are phenomenal players, absolute warriors in the trenches. But they're also both over 31 years old, and as we all know, Father Time is undefeated in the NFL. Behind them, there's very little proven young talent ready to step up. They desperately need to find a young, high-energy guy who can rotate in and keep those veterans fresh through a long 17-game season. It's really no coincidence that they just brought in a new D-line coach, Marion Hobby, who's got a reputation for developing exactly this kind of late-round talent.
And finally, safety. After everything that happened to their secondary last season, this is a complete no-brainer. Their starter, Nick Cross, is about to become a free agent, which could create another huge hole in that defensive backfield. But more importantly, the whole Gardner and Ward injury disaster was a brutal, painful lesson. You can never, ever have enough quality depth in your secondary.
They need to find multiple athletic, versatile defensive backs that their talented coach, Lou Anarumo, can develop and mold into contributors. So, what kind of player are they looking for in these later rounds? This slide gives us a perfect example. This is Xavier Nwankpa, a safety from Iowa. He's not just a random name, he's the prototype of what they're looking for. He's got ideal size at 6'2", and he has elite speed with a reported 4.39 40-yard dash. That combination of size and speed gives him a high relative athletic score, or RAS. That's just a metric that combines all of a player's athletic testing into one number, and it's something we know for a fact that GM Chris Ballard absolutely loves. This is the profile, a raw, super athletic player they can grab late and hope their coaches can develop into a quality starter.
And that brings us to the final lingering question. The Colts have a blueprint for recovery. They have a path forward, but is it going to be enough? Can finding value in the later rounds, hitting on a few day 3 picks, ever truly make up for trading away 2 first-round picks and a talented young player for just 4 games of a superstar? The legacy of this trade, and maybe the entire era of this Colts front office, is going to be defined by the answer to that very question. What do you think? Let me know down in the comments below. Thanks for watching NFL Nexus. If you enjoyed this breakdown, please give the video a like and subscribe for more. We'll see you next time.